Finding the right cycling shoe is an absolute minefield. There's 1,000 options out there. Which is the right one? We asked professional bike fitter James Thomas to rank them from worst to best.
Right at the bottom of our list is the Specialized shoe. This particular shoe is an S-Works, but my issue with this brand of shoe covers the entire range from the sort of sport model all the way up to the top of the range, S-Works. They're very well made, they've got a decent cleat location, they've got a carbon fiber sole. However, there is one big problem. They are non-neutral. They're the only non-neutral shoe on the market. By that I mean the front of the shoe is canted like this. So this is the right foot, which elevates the medial side of the foot. This is intended to treat what's called a forefoot varus deformity. In the medical world, it's known as a forefoot varus deformity. In the cycling world, it's thought of as commonplace, no thanks to this brand. A forefoot varus deformity refers to a skeletally fixed elevation of the first ray. It's the first line of bones. When I say fixed, I mean that it cannot be manipulated or brought down to the floor. And when this occurs in human foot, it results in excessive pronation of the ankle joint. Thus, you end up with foot problems, knee problems, saddle issues, all this kind of stuff. At least that's what the marketing suggests. And it's true to a certain extent. There's a problem. Doesn't exist. I mean, in the last year, and we screen every single person that comes for a bike fit here, in the last year I've probably observed 2 to 3 forefoot varus deformities. Most people possess what's called a forefoot supinatus, which is a soft tissue elevation which can be manipulated and brought down to the ground without excessively pronating the ankle joint. Thus, what we're doing with this shoe is we're applying support where it's not warranted nor needed, and as a result it has a tendency of supinating the foot, so rolling the foot outwards, which in turn cause foot problems, very commonly associated with problems on the outside of the foot, but just as similarly you get problems with hot foot in the first metatarsal. It can even translate to things like knee pain and saddle issues. So there are ways of neutralizing the shoe. You can put a forefoot varus, forefoot wedge into the shoe upside down, and that will neutralize the shoe, usually rendering the symptoms null and void. However, it encroaches on the spacer side of the shoe, usually causing numbness. Not my favorite, I'm afraid. My next least favorite brand of shoe is from Mavic. The French wheelhouse has been developing shoes for about a decade now, and to be honest with you, they look pretty nice, but there is one big problem with them. The cleat location. It's so far forward. I think they suspect that cyclists are ballet dancers. They are also very, very flat from heel to toe. What this typically translates to or leads to in a cycling environment, if the rider doesn't have the right foot for it, is the riders need to plant a flex or point the toe in order to make up for the lack of forefoot drop. So generally speaking, Mavic's one of the least stable shoes on the market because of flat sole shape and a very forward cleat location. Okay, so we've been vocal about this on this channel for a long time, and if I'm honest, some of my views might be a little bit outdated by now. I know that they certainly relate to the entry-level shoes from Physique. Shoes like the R5B, which I think is probably still a model, same with the R4B. The cleat location, again, similar to the Mavic, is extremely far forward. The other problem with them seems to be that the arch support is in the wrong place. It's too far forward, and again causes problems like foot cramping, knee pain, that kind of stuff. It's worth noting that the newer, higher end models do have a more rearward cleat location. They are also notably wider than their predecessors. So Physique seem to be listening to the cycling fraternity or the bike fitting fraternity, and they are making shoes that fit significantly better than the shoes of old, but certainly steer clear of some of the more entry-level models. These things have been around since the dawn of time. Sidi actually made their name in motorcycle boots, but they've been making cycling shoes for a very long time as well. Exceptionally well made. Made in Italy? Yes, made in Italy. Exceptionally well made, which actually is just as much a bad thing as it is a good thing, because it usually leads to people using these for significantly longer than they should do. I have a number of customers coming in here with this brand of shoe, and the shoes should be walking themselves. They're so old, and it just tends to lead to the rider keeping hold of the shoes for longer than they should. The shoes slop and they kind of they start to sag, and which allows the foot to kind of wash around the side of the shoe. My bigger issue with these really is, again, it's cleat location orientated. It's quite a far forward cleat location. Just to be clear, as we're talking about cleat location, it's the crux of this video. The problem with having the cleat location too far forward is that it puts quite a lot of strain through the delicate structure of the forefoot. There's a very dense capillary structure here, there's a lot of neural tissue, and if you have the cleat too far forward, it usually puts quite a lot of pressure through these small bones. And as a result, that will usually lead to things like numbness and pins and needles, but furthermore, it can also act as a means of destabilizing the foot, putting more strain through the ankle joint, the subtalar complex, which resonates up through the knees, the hips, and the pelvis. So having a shoe that has the option for a more rearward cleat location is generally a preferred solution, particularly for more endurance-orientated riders. There are some people who are sat there probably thinking, well, if I have it further forward, I get more leverage. Well, it doesn't really work like that because the appendage of the foot isn't really that long. It's also attached to a very, very mobile ball socket joint. You're better off having the cleat more rearward, which in turn reduces the leverage of the foot, thus improving stability through the ankle joint, which translates to better power delivery. So next on the list is Shimano, the Japanese component manufacturer has been making shoes since the dawn of time. They make millions of shoes a year. They offer a decent cleat location. They offer a standard and a wide fit. It is worth noting that the wide fit is not very wide. It is, let's put it as average at best, but at least they're trying. Like I say, cleat location is great. It's got quite a lot of adjustability in fore and aft, and they are, again, exceptionally well made. Come in a whole range of prices, but the S-Fire is obviously the top of the range one, the RC903. One thing to note about the new top-end S-Fire, it's exceptionally narrow. It's actually one of the more narrow-fitting shoes on the market. To that end, we're actually considering and stocking it for our narrow-fitting shoe. Bont, the Australian maestros who made their name in, I think it was roller skates or ice skates. They are renowned for heat moldable custom shoes. These tend to really only work with a particular type of foot, pes planus foot, which is a low arch, low instep, usually rather harshly, I feel, referred to as a flat foot, mostly on the ground, similarly to the Mavic, that they lack any sort of forefoot drop. By that I mean that the forefoot sits lower than the hindfoot, and as a result, if you put an Aquinas foot or a Caver's foot into it, the rider quite often results in the need to plantar or point the toe in order to make up for that lack of forefoot drop. Having said all of that, they are again very well made. They are heat moldable, and you can adjust the toe box in order to make up for things like bunions, for instance. So if you have like a skeletal growth on your foot, then you can mold around that with a Bont shoe by simply heating it up in the oven. We would probably be stocking it if they weren't distributed by Rally UK, which means that they got zero stock. This should probably be slightly lower down my list because historically Giro used to make fantastic shoes, namely the Empire and later the Factor Tech Lace. The Factor Tech Lace in particular was probably the best narrow fitting shoe I've ever experienced. It was two Velcro closure with a boa on the side, and it had a similar fit and last to the shoe that we have here, which is a Sector mountain bike shoe. They generally work for much, much narrower feet. They've got a fantastic cleat location. They are very well made. However, the latest generation, particularly the high end, the Imperial, are made up of a very lightweight sailcloth material, which offers jack all in the way of support. And unfortunately, it's just not a very stable shoe. They've now taken that material because it's so light and airy and breathable and put it into the Empire, which also renders the Empire unstable and not very supportive. So unfortunately, previous generations of Empire, great, newer ones, less so. It's worth noting the Empire that I'm talking about is actually a lace-up shoe. That's also not everybody's forte, although it makes it easy. It does mean you can get a nice even distribution of pressure over the top of the foot, but you try undoing laces and redoing laces when you're riding a bicycle. So this will come as no surprise to you. There is a reason why we put Lake on a pedestal here, because we sell shoes that fit people. Every person that buys a pair of shoes from us, unlike when you buy a pair of shoes from online, we assess people's feet, we measure people's feet, we analyze the feet, and we understand the structure, the stability or lack thereof of the foot before we present a shoe to a customer. Lake as a brand has, without a doubt, the broadest spectrum of fit across their range. One of the best things about Lake is also one of the worst things about Lake in that it is a pretty unshoppable range. For example, we have 3 models here from Lake. The CX238, the new CX333, and the CX403. The CX238, which is our entry-level shoe, is the widest shoe, one of the widest shoes they make. The next model up, a couple of models up, is the 333, which is a narrower fitting shoe. But it's also narrower than the CX403, which isn't as wide as the CX238. There's then standard and wide fit versions of each. You can see where I'm going here. It's a pretty unshoppable and difficult range to follow. Going and buying this shoe in the wide fit ain't as wide as this shoe in a wide fit. So even though they're the same brand and they're the same brand, they're going to offer a very, very different last and very, very different fits. Furthermore, Lake offers one of the best cleat locations. It's a little bit more rearward. They have a decent amount of arch support built into the shoe, and they come in a plethora of different options in both vegan-friendly uppers as well as bovine and kangaroo leathers. Most of the higher-end shoes come with boa closures, which is what we always like. And when you're getting into the upper end of the models, these two in particular, you're talking full custom heat moldable as well, so it's a heat moldable heel cup. Some of you may be squirming in your seats thinking kangaroo leather. Well, kangaroo leather is a very, very durable material, so as a result, they can take away a lot more of the epidermis, a lot more of the layers of leather, which makes it a lighter, more breathable material. It also conforms a lot better than a PU material. So unfortunately, leather, it is generally a pretty good material to make shoes out of.
Have you found the perfect shoe? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel for more, and link down below if you want to check out James's shop or book a fit with him.